Good morning to all our viewers on the various social media platforms and to members of the media. Welcome to this press conference facilitated by the Royal Grenada Police Force. I am Sherry-Ann Noel. This press conference has been called to bring the general public up to date on ongoing major investigations and security plans for the carnival season. On the head table, I have with me Commissioner of Police, Mr. Cannot, who will give an overview on the state of security and the missing American tourist. We also have Superintendent Frank Foray, who would give us some carnival updates, and Inspector Ryan Smith, who would give us information on traffic management for the carnival season. Adding support on the head table as well, we have Superintendent Ryan Hall, who's in charge of the Criminal Investigations Department, and ACP Vanny Corwin. Once again, good morning and welcome to this very important press conference. We begin with Commissioner Cannot, who would give us an overview on investigations and so that is ongoing. Commissioner.
Thank you, Ms. Noel, and good morning to you. And members of the public, members of the local, regional, and international media, good morning to you. I wish to express my appreciation to members of the local media for your continued attendance and support to our local press conferences. We have convened this briefing this morning to outline our security and operational posture leading into Carnival season and to provide updates on the status of the American citizen who was gone missing while on vacation here in Grenada. Carnival is the largest and most significant national event on our calendar. It brings together thousands of residents, visitors, artists, event organizers, vendors, and road users across the country. It also places considerable responsibility on the Royal Grenada Police Force to maintain public order, safety, protect life and property, manage road traffic, secure major events, and to ensure that the celebrations are conducted in a safe and orderly manner. This morning, we will provide the public with a clear account of the force's states of readiness, our deployment plans, traffic management measures, security arrangements, public safety expectations, and the standard of conduct required from you, the members of the public, throughout this period. I wish to also remind you that Grenada remains one of the safest destinations, if not the safest destination in the world. This position is supported by our comprehensive crime statistics over the years, particularly when compared to other countries in the region. Violent crime continues to be on a steady decline. This is demonstrated by the following figures. In 2024, we recorded a total of 16 homicides. And with our deliberate efforts and our strategic plan and comprehensive security alignment with trends and events from across the region, we saw that figure taking a further dip in 2025, moving that figure down to 10 homicides. And as of today's date for the year 2026, we have recorded 3 homicides. Should this trend continue, we are likely to end the year with figures significantly lower than those recorded in previous years. The 2025 period was quite a watershed period for the Royal Grenada Police Force, as we recorded the highest number of crimes solved nationally. And I want to reemphasize, the year 2025 was also a watershed year for the Royal Grenada Police Force, as we recorded the highest number of crimes solved nationally. That level of performance and commitment has continued into 2026. Nevertheless, we continue to face challenges. Our principal concerns remain that of property crime, including stealing, housebreaking, and damage to property. Many of these crimes of opportunity are crimes of opportunity, and we continue to encourage the public to take responsible, precautionary action to secure their homes, businesses, vehicles, and other personal belongings. Beyond these broader crime concerns, the Royal Grenada Police Force is also actively pursuing a number of serious matters currently under investigation. Yesterday, the police executive met with a team of serious crime investigators assigned to these matters and received a comprehensive briefing on the progress made to date. In relation to the wider security environment, there is no intelligence at this time to suggest there is any threat to carnival activities. We continue to monitor the regional threat assessment provided by our regional partners and are assured of its continued support in analyzing threats posed by regional and international actors that may have implications on our national security. Before I turn to the overall carnival security posture of the force, I wish to first provide an update on the missing person report involving United States citizen Elizabeth Liz Waddell. For the benefit of Ms. Waddell's family, the Grenadian public, and the international community, I will now set out the confirmed chronology of events leading up to the missing person report presently available for public release. Mrs. Waddell arrived in Grenada from Miami on 11 July 2026 on board American Airlines Flight 1546. She was accompanied by a female friend. During the first 10 days of their visit, they stayed at a resort on the western side of the island. On July 21st, 2026, they relocated to another accommodation in the south of the island. The following day, Wednesday, 22nd July 2026, surveillance footage recorded the following movements. At approximately 11:36 a.m., Mrs. Waddell was seen walking towards the jetty. She later sat on the sand near the jetty. At 11:46, she was seen on the jetty. She removed her towel and remained dressed in her swimwear. At 11:51 a.m., she entered the water. At 12:04 p.m., she was seen swimming beneath the jetty. At 12:46, her traveling companion was seen walking towards the jetty and later returned alone. Mrs. Waddell was not seen on surveillance footage returning from the water. Investigators have also received several eyewitness accounts indicating that she was seen swimming in the open water. At 5:50 p.m., her traveling partner reported Ms. Waddell missing to the South St. George Police Station. That report triggered an immediate police response, including an initial search of the premises, the surroundings, shoreline, and desperate searches of all of the areas in and around that resort. On Thursday, 23rd July 2026, the Royal Grenada Police Force issued a public missing person alert seeking information from the general public and from persons operating within Grenada's coastal and marine environment. Our investigative activities. The investigation is proceeding along a number of connected lines of inquiry. Investigators have obtained and reviewed available surveillance footage. Witnesses have been identified and interviewed. Investigators are reconstructing Mrs. Waddell's movements leading up to the time she was reported missing. Relevant locations have been examined and reported site scenes continues to be assessed. Information obtained from the general public was also recorded, evaluated, and assigned for investigation. Inquiries have been made with the relevant persons and entities, and those inquiries are ongoing. Digital material, photographs, and video recordings obtained from persons within the relevant area are being reviewed. The investigative team is also examining whether any person, vessel or vehicle moved to the relevant locations during this critical period. All information received is being assessed alongside the established timelines, available surveillance footage, witness accounts, and the findings from each search operation. This process is intended to develop a clear and accurate account of Ms. Waddell's movements. A coordinated search operation was initiated and has continued across the relevant maritime space, coastal surroundings, to include extensive marine surface searches by the Grenada Coast Guard, covering Point Selene's Point to Happy Hill, underwater searches by the Grenada Coast Guard and local dive professionals, shoreline and coastal searches with the support of the St. George's University K-9 unit, examination of the immediate area surrounding the last confirmed sightings of Ms. Waddell. The RGPF drone unit also conducted area surveillance and searches from the area of Point Selene's to Happy Hill. A review of the currents, tides, and wind conditions and possible drift patterns were also done by the Grenada Coast Guard. Checks were done on local beaches, bays, inlets, and other relevant coastal areas. And follow-up searches arising from information received from members of the public. And as information continues to come to our attention, those searches will be expanded. These operations have involved the coordinated and investigative arms of the RGPF, maritime personnel, divers, technical resources, and members of the wider community. On Friday, the 24th of July 2026, the husband of Ms. Waddell arrived in Grenada, and based on information provided to our investigators, further searches were conducted. The Royal Grenada Police Force has also been in contact with the principal officer of the United States Embassy here in Grenada, Ms. Cindy Diouf, in relation to ongoing investigations. As part of our international cooperation, the FBI Regional Office has also been contacted and provided with a summary of the circumstances surrounding the investigations with a view to obtaining its assistance in developing a better understanding of the background of Ms. Elizabeth Waddell. This assistance is particularly relevant given the fact that Ms. Waddell is a United States citizen and is not known in Grenada outside of a visit to Grenada. This engagement forms part of the wider cooperation being maintained with relevant local, regional, and international partners through established official channels. Our investigative position. The Royal Grenada Police Force has not reached or announced any final conclusion regarding the circumstances surrounding Ms. Waddell's missing persons status. At this time, the matter continues to be treated as a missing person investigation. I repeat, at this time, the matter continues to be treated as a missing person investigation. We appeal to anyone who may have information relevant to this investigation to come forward and contact the Royal Grenada Police Force. No information should be considered too minor, as it may assist investigators when examined alongside other information already received. We ask members of the public and the media to rely on the Royal Grenada Police Force as the official source of information concerning this matter. Any information approved for public release will be communicated through established channels of the RGPF. Let me take this opportunity on behalf of the Royal Grenada Police Force to express our empathy and support for Mr. Kaylin Waddell, the husband of Elizabeth, to her relatives, to her friends, who are expressing extreme difficulty at this time, trying to cope with this distressing situation. They seek answers, and we are here to provide those answers. It is our hope that Elizabeth will be found, and found alive and well. The Royal Grenada Police Force remains equally hopeful that she will be safe and that she is safe. And we continue to appeal for cooperation to us. Any bit of information will do at this time. And we do hope that we can locate Elizabeth very soon. Again, we empathize with the family, relatives, and friends, and we are hopeful that Elizabeth will be found alive. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner, for that detailed report there on the work that is ongoing in terms of the investigations in the missing person and also the previous that you gave in terms of crime statistics. Just a word to members of the media, we will be taking questions at the end of the presentation of all on the head table. So at this time, we would move along to Superintendent Frank Foray, who would give us some carnival updates.
Good. Thank you, Ms. Noel. Good morning to the general public, and also good morning to our regional and international partners. As we all know that Carnival 2026 has launched in the month of May, and to date, most of the activities, half of the activities already concluded, the Spice Mass activities. And I must report that no incident of any criminal nature was recorded. So as we go along to the second portion of the 2026 Spice Mass celebration, the Royal Grenada Police Force will adopt a similar security posture. And that security posture will entail that we will have our integrated border control, meaning that all access into the different parishes leading into any activity, we will have our checkpoints. So all patrons will be checked for offensive weapons and any other thing that could lead up to any criminal nature. Also, we will have multiple level access control points at the venue of all the activities. And the main venue for most of the activities that is remaining for Spice Mass 2026 is the National Stadium. And the National Stadium, the access point will be controlled by the RGPF plus security, the private security. Also, the access point, bags will be checked. Individual scannings also will be done by the private security and members of the RGPF. We'll also have visible and discreet security setup to monitor the entire event and patrons. And I must say that we will have also real-time surveillance to capture our air support. We will capture all the events from above, so that will give us an appreciation as how to respond to any incident that may occur while the events are taking place. But let me just highlight just a few objectives that the RGPF will like to achieve at the end of Spice Mass 2026. One of first objective is security of VIP officials and patrons at all organized masquerade events. Secondly, maintain law and order in the day-to-day activities of the people throughout the state. Third, ensure effective crowd control at venues of mass crowd events. Fourth, effective vehicle and pedestrian control on the roadway in the vicinity of these mass crowd events. As I mentioned earlier on, that's where the border control VIP will be very, very important. Next, maintain law and order within the venues of these mass crowd events. Prevent and detect crime throughout the state and at the venues of these mass crowd events, ensuring public order and public safety throughout the festivities. Improve speed of response to reports of crime or any other sort. Effective management, security, and parking control of vehicles attending these mass crowd events. And finally, efficient and effective screening of persons entering venues of mass crowd events to prevent entry of any weapons, drugs, or any other prohibited items into the venue. Added to that, patrons are reminded that there will be delays getting into the activities. We just want to remind, because of the volume of people that we experience for the semi-finals, we just want to put this out there that people have to be a little bit more patient in entering into the event. Also, no vending in the entrance of the Green Bridge. Just want the vendors to be reminded of this. That the Green Bridge entering into the stadium. That entrance, as you're entering into the stadium from the Green Bridge end, that's going to, if you're driving towards Cherry Hill side, that entrance there, we would like there to be as free as possible to encourage easy access. Vehicle passes are available for the residents where the carnival activities will be passing through, and you could apply to the police headquarters for these vehicle passes. No offensive weapon will be allowed, and I want to stress on this one, no offensive weapons will be allowed into any one of the activities that is remaining for Spice Mass 2026. And we encouraging the public to more or less partner with us, so that at the end of it all, that we could have a safe and productive 2026 Spice Mass celebration. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ferrer. Now we move on to Inspector Ryan Smith, who will tell us more about the traffic arrangements and management for the Spice Mass.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Pleasant morning to the viewing and listening public. In order to manage all activities for Spice Mass 2026, the Traffic Department has developed some traffic management plan. But today I would only delve into all shows at the National Stadium, Juve, the street pageant, Monday night mass, and Parade of the Bands on Tuesday. As it relates to the shows at the National Stadiums, all vehicular traffic entering the National Stadium will use the Queen's Park Public Road from its intersection with Cherry Hill, or the Stadium Ring Road, or the Humback Bridge where it joins the River Road Public Road. No vehicular traffic will be allowed to enter the stadium compound from the Mount Rush direction. In no entry. Vehicular traffic will not be allowed in the following areas: Old Fort Public Road from its junction with Local Street, Cemetery Hill from its junction with Church Street, the Ring Road from its junction with Mount Rush Public Road in the direction of the Humback Bridge. Parking areas, VVIP and VIP will park in the area in front of the National Stadium, that is facing the River Road end. You will have to make a left turn into that area once you enter from the Humback Bridge direction. Now, taking into consideration the size of Wesley College ground, the spillover of the VIP will occupy that area, as well as members of the general public, based on how things actually panned out on the ground on the day in question. Parking for the general public: Kirani James Athletic Stadium car park, that is the concrete area; Wesley College ground, the bus terminus, Ariza car park, and Old Trafford, and Tanton playing field. Those areas are areas that we intend to use in the event that we have a crowd that the parking areas in and around the stadium cannot actually accommodate on the day in question. The no parking areas: the entire Ring Road around the National Stadium, River Road from its junction to Lacqua Brothers Crematorium to LA Postal Lumber Yard, Cherry Hill Public Road from Grenada Welders to its junction with Melville Street, Melville Street from its junction with River Road to Old Lacqua Building, or one can say in the area of the Fish Market. Cemetery Hill, Mount Rush Public Road. Now, once those other areas are being utilized, such as the bus terminus, the Ariza car park, Old Trafford, and Tanton playing field, shuttle service will be provided for persons who parked in those areas. One-way traffic. At the closure of the show, the following roads will be transformed into one-way carriageways. River Road Public Road will be one-way towards the Decal roundabout. Montrush Public Road in the direction of Mongay. Motley Hill will be one-way in the direction of Sans Souci. The intersection of the Stadium Ring Road with Montrush Public Road towards the direction of the Humbag Bridge. So in other words, once the show is in progress, vehicles will be allowed to enter the Humbag Bridge. But once the show concludes, vehicles will only be allowed to exit the Humbag Bridge. The emergency route, Cemetery Hill, Old Fort Public Road, Locust Street, Church Street, and to the General Hospital. Now, the plan will actually take effect 2 hours before the starting of any event, until the event concludes. Let's move on to the Juve. That will be Monday, the 10th August, from 4 a.m. to 12 noon. Kirani James Boulevard and all adjoining roads from its junction with Belmont to Allen Francis roundabout at Tropicana, continuing on to Port Highway to the roundabout at Buns Point. The entire portion of road known as the Carnage, Young Street, from its junction with the Carnage to its junction with Halifax Street, Scott Street, H.A. Street, Tantin Public Road from its junction at Homemade Bakery to its junction at the Botanical Garden roundabout. So all those roads will be closed to vehicular traffic on that day. Let's just move on to the street pageant, which will be on Monday, the 10th of August from 12 noon to 6 p.m. Kirari James Boulevard from its junction with Belmont to Allen Francis roundabout at Tropicana, continuing on to Port Highway to the roundabout at Buns Point, and the entire portion of road known as the Carnage, Young Street, from its junction with the Carnage to its junction with Halifax Street, Scott Street, H.A. Street, Tantin Public Road from its junction at Homemade Bakery to its junction at the Botanical Garden roundabout. So once again, all those roads will be closed to vehicular traffic. For Monday night mass, from 6 p.m. to 12 midnight, Granans Public Road from its intersection with Gulf Coast Public Road onto Kirani James Boulevard from its junction with Belmont to Allen Francis roundabout at Tropicana, continuing on to Port Highway to the roundabout at Buns Point. The entire portion of road known as the Carnage, Young Street from its junction with the Carnage to its junction with Halifax Street, Scott Street, H.A. Street, Tantin Public Road from its junction with Homemade Bakery to its junction at the Botanical Garden roundabout, once again will be closed to vehicular traffic. Parade of the Band, that is on Tuesday the 11th of August from 12 noon to 12 midnight. The bands shall proceed along the following streets on which no vehicular traffic other than police emergency vehicles and vehicles forming part of the band will be allowed. Granans Public Road from its junction with Wall Street roundabout onto Kirani James Boulevard from its junction with Belmont to Allen Francis roundabout at Tropicana, continuing on to Port Highway to the roundabout at Buns Point, continuing on to the entire portion of road known as the Carnage, continuing on to its junction with Young Street to its junction with Halifax Street, continuing along Scott Street onto Howard Blaze Street and onto Tantin. Now we are asking persons to utilize the window between the both events to replenish bars and to do whatever work that they have to do on the day in question, because once the road closed, we would not allow persons to get into the area that the band should occupy. We are asking persons to utilize the system of carpooling because we know around those times parking are limited. We are asking persons to ensure that the vehicles are secured at all times and do not leave any valuable item exposed because that would normally attract persons who would want to vandalize persons' goods and so on. We asking persons, if you're drinking, do not drive. If you're driving, do not drink. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Inspector Ryan Spith, for the information as it regards to the management of traffic for the carnival. Before I open up the platform for questions from members of the media, we'd like to invite Superintendent Hall to just give us an update on the investigations ongoing with the suspicious death in St. Mark.
Good morning to you and to the listening public. Last Friday, we received a report of a death in Non-Paras and Marks. Officers would have responded. That matter is still pending. It's under investigation. A post-mortem is pending, which is due for tomorrow. Coming from that post-mortem, then we'll be able to determine the offense, the category of offense. But the investigation is ongoing so far at this moment.
Thank you very much. To members of media, we now open up for questions. We ask you to indicate by the show of hands. We invite if you just kindly indicate by the show of hands, we'd be able to identify which of you would like to pose your questions to the head table. So can you please do so by the show of hands?
Where's the hand button?
Roll Titus.
Yeah, sorry, I'm not seeing the hand button.
Go right ahead.
Right. Good morning, gentlemen. Good morning, ladies, everybody. Quick question following up from that last response from, I think is, well, the last response, read St. Mark's investigation. Just clarify for me, read St. Mark's death. Have you detained anybody? Have you released anybody on bail, or can you provide us with a name? Could you just clarify that part for us, please? Thank you.
Thank you very much for your question. Yes, we took in 2 persons for questioning. We would have since interviewed and released both parties. We have not charged anyone as yet, and as I indicated earlier, the post-mortem is still pending. So once that is done, then we're going to continue further investigation.
Thank you.
Any other mem?
Hi, this is Dan with CBS News. Is there any plans to release that video, that chronology of events?
Good morning, and thank you very much for your question. We are still in the preliminary stages of the investigation. Our partners at the other end, hopefully FBI may have some input on the reviewing of the video footage, but as it is now, we would not be releasing that video at this time, but we assure you that we have the video, and should it be necessary in the future, certainly we would give consideration to the releasing of the video, if appropriate.
Do you have a follow-up question, sir? If not, go ahead.
Yes, I do. Is the family, I know Mr. Waddell is in the island. How would you describe his cooperation? Is he any issues as far as him cooperating with the police force?
Most definitely. I must say from his initial arrival, the police met with him. He also provided some information, and we were able to check it out with him being present. Obviously, we wanted to develop some level of rapport, and he has been very cooperative thus far, and we want to thank him for that. And he's been in touch with our lead detective on the matter. So I would want to confirm here that he has been cooperative and continues to be throughout the investigation thus far.
We now move to invite Roxanne Thompson of No Grenada to pose her questions.
I don't see anything. I don't see any.
Hi, good morning. Are you all hearing me?
Yes, we are.
Hi, good morning once again. My question is for the sergeant. You mentioned that the FBI regional office is providing some type of support. Can you explain what type of support is that in this investigation, if it's administrative or if they are actually here providing aerial support to find the missing person?
I did indicate in my presentation that they're assisting with providing some background information so we can get an understanding on the profile of Ms. Waddell, and so far our cooperation is along those lines. There is no active personnel on the ground as we speak. I'm not certain if we would get to that point, if that request will be made. Certainly where we sit now, this is not something that is being considered. So there is active dialogue and discussion with the regional FBI office.
Ms. Thompson,
Yes.
Go ahead.
I had a follow-up regarding the traveling companions account. Has the companion provided any insight why they left the jetty without Mrs. Waddell, or if they spoke before she swam out?
We did not account for the companion being on the jetty with Ms. Waddell. Certainly she has been providing some information, and we have been checking those information against what the video footage has provided. So far there is nothing questionable about her account of the investigations, and we continue to receive cooperation from her also. We're still open, it's a still open and fluid matter, and everything that comes to our attention certainly will be checked, verified, and cross-checked.
Yes, last night I did see the GBN news. It seems like there's more information regarding the person's whereabouts as far as her swimming out and some person seeing her out in the ocean. Do you have any comments regarding that?
We have engaged those individuals. The detective who is leading the matter has engaged all persons who came forward, and including the account cited by the GBN. We were aware of those individuals before and have already engaged them.
Thank you. My last question is, what message would the RGPF like to send to visitors for Spice Mass 2026 following this event, this incident?
Well, we still classify the event and continue the incident as a missing persons report. And we would want to appeal to all visitors. First and foremost, I must say, to let our visitors know that Grenada still remains the safest destination on this planet. Secondly, like any other country, we have to be concerned about our personal safety. And by that I mean, whenever we are going out to events, we need to communicate that with a friend, take responsible actions for our safety, refrain from engaging persons who you don't know or you have no connections with, being in the company of others, and all of the general precautions that one would extend even while being at your country of residence. The same applies even though you're on vacation in the safest destination on the planet.
I will now like to invite Lily Pascal of the MTV to pose her questions.
Hi, good morning. Thanks for the opportunity. I would like an update on the escaped prisoner, Edwin, that fled the scene somewhere around the hospital area a couple months ago.
Good morning to all of the listeners and viewers. Thank you for that question. We have been providing significant update on this individual since he has plunged into the sea. We have done all that we think we needed to do. We have done all our aerial searches, coastline searches. We have not found the individual. Since then, to date, as I speak, we have no further information that we provided before, in that we still at this point do not know the whereabouts of that individual. We have some theories that I do not really wish to share with you now this morning as to what we believe might have happened, but we have not closed the door on this. It remains active, and we continue to do what we need to do.
Lily, do you have a follow-up?
I don't. Thank you.
Go right ahead. Oh, sorry. So now I want to invite Mr. Christian Benavides, hope I pronounced it correctly, to pose his question.
Hi, thank you so much. Chris Benavides from CBS. You mentioned that they moved from one hotel to another the night before she went out in the water and went missing. Do we have any idea what motivated that move? Was that pre-planned, or was there a reason where that they decided to make that change?
Unfortunately, sir, I don't think I can provide an accurate response to your question. Certainly, I'm going to take note of it. But there was nothing by way of information reaching out that there was anything concerning that agitated the move from that particular resort. It could have been a planned activity, but certainly I don't have the answer to that question at this moment. But it is possible that it was a prearranged situation where they had to move from one location of the island to another. But I certainly would inquire further and hopefully provide a further update on this matter.
And just a couple of clarifying questions. One, you mentioned that you did not account for the female companion to go out into the jetty. What did you mean by that?
In respect to Elizabeth going to the jetty to have a swim, the female companion did not accompany her then. It was a lone trip taken by Elizabeth to go to the jetty. The only time the female companion was engaged was when she went to the jetty area some hours after to look for Elizabeth, and that is when sometime thereafter she raised the alarm that Elizabeth was missing and filed a police report. So they were not together leaving the apartment to go to the jetty. I hope that clarifies your question.
Yes, that does. And then you had said that she's seen swimming beneath the jetty, and that's the last time that we see her. Does that mean she doesn't resurface from the jetty, or does the camera cut off in a way where you wouldn't see her necessarily resurface from a different angle?
From the camera coverage and from the accounts of persons seen her in the water, we did not capture on CCTV footage leaving the sea, coming back to the shore. And there is no account of anyone indicating that they saw her return to the shore.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome, sir.
We now move on to ABC's Anselm Gibbs.
Good morning. Yes, Anselm Gibbs from ABC News. Just checking, I know you talked about just now about not having camera coverage of her coming out of the water, but were police able to recover all her belongings that she may have left in the sand, such as a cell phone, to probably look into that, as well as even her belongings from the apartment, to go through any kind of electronics to see if there may be any clues as to her disappearance?
Thank you for your question, sir. All of the electronic devices, we are now in possession of those, and we are going to continue our interrogation of those devices. So far, this is where I want to leave this question, because we'll be getting into the nuts and bolts of our investigation, but I just want to assure you that we have recovered those.
Okay, thank you. That's all for me.
Any other member of the media wishes to pose a question? See, Mr.
Good morning.
Go ahead.
Yes, morning, Jonathan Richardson from the Informer newspaper, and my question has to do with where we know it we're into the midst of the Carnival celebration. What we saw recently with the continued display of the jab jab at the different venues around the country is that continued display of live animals. That has been an issue over the years. Does the police have any plans to deal with persons displaying or using live animals as part of the carnival celebration during the carnival celebration? Does the police have, and I say so because we recently engaged Spice Mass, and what they're saying is that while they would have spoken to persons, there are no units that would uniformed police officers, for example, that would confront persons having those animals. Outside of uniformed police, are there anything in place that would deal with persons who are violating the law and exposing and endangering animals during the celebration?
Thank you very much for your question, Mr. Johnson. We want to split hairs here. We are primarily law enforcement, and we want to stick to a mandate. The issue of live animals for carnival is not an issue for law enforcement, but this issue most fits squarely perhaps through the Ministry of Agriculture or elsewhere. It is not a law enforcement issue and is not one we have taken on board over the years.
Johnson, do you have a follow-up question?
Yes, my second question has to do with similar, but is the continued display of the abuse of the national flag. We've seen it time and time again. Persons not only abuse the flag and display it in the wrong direction and so on, but also last year I was very close to one lady who had the national flag, in fact, on a dog, right? And she was walking along the street on Laban Road, and passing police officers and so on. Is that part of within the remit of the police to deal with persons who are violating or continue to abuse the national flag as well?
Mr. Johnson, I agree with you on the first point of the animal. I am in agreement with you, and I am also in agreement with you with the issue of the national flag. But these have to be national conversation that has to be held outside of the remits of law enforcement. It's a conversation that we need to have. Etiquette of the flag, the way the flag has been displayed, abuse of the flag, they are all issues for consideration. But they don't fit squarely into the remit of law enforcement. But I agree with you, there needs to be started a national conversation as to how we treat with live animals for carnival and how we abuse our national flag. These are not squarely and purely law enforcement issues. We perhaps need to look at legislative changes, enforcement of what we currently have, putting those issues squarely into the arms of the department or ministries that are responsible for enforcing them. But I quite agree with you, we need to start a national conversation on these two issues.
Thank you very much, ACP Cohen. Before we move to Mr. Titus and Mr. Christian, Commissioner has an update to one of the questions posed earlier.
Thank you very much, Ms. Noel. In respect to the question regarding the move from the resort at the western coast to the south of the island, one of the investigators listening the program here right now, the interview, has just provided me with the update. It was a planned arrangement between Elizabeth and her colleague to spend part of the vacation on the west coast and then to move to another accommodation at the south of the island. So it was pre-arranged by the two. Thank you.
So now we take Mr. Raul Titus.
Just a couple clarifications on the death of Gary Williams in St. Mark's. You mentioned that two people have been questioned and then released subsequently, if I'm correct in rephrasing your sentence. One, could you clarify the relationship of those two people to Gary? And additionally, You mentioned that a post-mortem is being conducted. I understand that, but can you tell me in your investigations at the scene, did you pick up any particular evidence, i.e. objects, i.e. Have you seen blood, or is there a weapon, a knife or anything of that sort?
Thank you very much for your question once again. At this moment, I don't think it's prudent that we disclose the specifics of the investigation. The matter is ongoing still, as I indicated, and we are looking into all aspects of the investigation. The crime scene is critical. The statements, everything will be explored, and the information gathered will indicate the direction in which we go.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
Good morning again. Yes,
okay, just again. one moment, please. ACP Cohen wants to
for
add.
For the benefit of Mr. Titus and the rest of the media who may ask similar questions, during our investigation, there are certain details we just cannot disclose that early. The matter is receiving attention, and giving you too much of what we have can compromise our investigation. So starting to talk about murder weapons and suspects and who they are at this initial stage is not prudent, is not wise to disclose those information. So just bear with us. At some point, when all of the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted, we will present greater details for you, outlining some of the answers you're seeking in some subsequent press briefing. But at this point, it's not wise to do that.
Yes, I just want to clarify, clearly here in LSP Hall, the Williams incident did not happen in Nonpareil. That's where I live. It happened in Union. So I just need you to, just for clarification. And my question is though, there was also an incident in Guelph where a young man, we were told, died through hanging. Can the police share some light on that particular incident? What's the nature of the investigation, and what is actually? Can you share some light on that bit of information, please? We're told that a young man was found hanging in the village of I think it's Guelph Estate in St. John's. Can you share some light on that, please?
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. I can confirm that we responded to what appears to be a hanging. We did an autopsy that confirmed that it was a hanging. That is all we're prepared to say at this point. We are continuing to investigate this matter. Whether the hanging was the action of the person hanged or some other motive or intention is yet to be determined. That matter is also under investigation, and as I indicated before, there is not very much we want to say until we've concluded on that investigation.
Okay, so we now take a question from Mr. Christian.
Yeah, sorry, I just had one final follow-up, which was prior to reporting the missing person, did Elizabeth or her companion report anything else to police or have any interactions with police? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Christian. And the short answer to that is no. There was no engagement with the police by either of the two prior to this incident.
Okay, so we now take our final question from Shania. Shania? Shania, are you hearing us?
Shania? Shania, can I ask just one final question if Shania is not answering that question?
Hello? Okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to take that final question from Johnson, and then we'd move straight over to Shania before we wrap the question segment. So Johnson, go ahead, and you'd be followed by Shania.
Thank you very much. I just want to ask though, how the RGPF hope to handle the issue of children attending adult events. I mean, that has been a problem over the years and so on. A lot of the shows that you go to, there are crowded with underage children, and a lot of the time they engage in the use of alcohol, where adults are basically selling alcohol to minors. I hope this one is one that is within the remit of the police, but it's becoming that so that we could shed some light on that.
Thank you for your question, Mr. Johnson. RGPF is responsible for crimes. An underage child not committing a crime has nothing to do with the enforcement of other laws. A 12-year-old or a 13-year-old being in Sokomonak is an abhorrent event. It's not something that any of us want to see, like to see. But what legislation gives us the authority to say to that child, you can't be there, or you don't have any authority to be there? This is a parental issue. This is a societal issue. It is not a law enforcement issue.
Okay. So now we'll take our final question from Shania of the GBN.
Good morning.
Go ahead.
Are there any challenges faced in the investigation so far in locating Miss Waddell? And also, based on evidence gathered, how confident is the Royal Grenada Police Force in locating Miss Waddell?
Thank you very much for your question. I must say at this stage, there is no challenge to the investigators in this matter, and we remain confident, I should say. We are hopeful, and as assurance given earlier in my presentation, we remain hopeful, very hopeful, that she is somewhere on the island, alive and safe, and we will be able to safely reunite her with her family. That is our hope.
One last question. What are the next steps in the investigation over the coming days?
Certainly, we will continue to analyze the information before us. The search will be intensified, and as required, we would invest the necessary resources to ensuring that a full and comprehensive investigation, search not just to Ms. Waddell's matter, but all other outstanding matters, to include the Garrison, Mr. Williams matter up at Non-Parallel, and any other serious matter that is currently under investigation. That is an assurance of the Royal Grenada Police Force, and I must state here, coming from me as Commissioner of Police, this is an assurance I would want to give to the citizens of Grenada.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. Thank you very much to members of the media, who took the opportunity to join us via the Zoom platform to get clarity on the issues presented. And at this time, I would like to just ask the Commissioner just to make some final remarks before we end the conference.
Thank you very much, Ms. Noel. We are at the juncture where we are on the final approach to Spice Mass 2026. Already, I must say, Grenada, we are in a good place. We thank the public for the cooperation, the support, and the product is not the RGPF's product. It is not the product of just Spice Mass cooperation. It forms part of the national product, something that we have guarded to ensure that remains safe, remains enjoyable, to the extent that we are now regarded as the biggest carnival and the best mass by far. And this we pride ourselves in. With last year, we thought we had the best, and I could guarantee Grenada and the rest of the world that this year would exceed and surpass the experience of last year. From the figures and the information received since last December, there was no occupation, no place to accommodate visitors. Hotels are booked out, the fetes are practically sold out. And as evident in some of the preliminary shows, we already seen a steady uptick in visitor arrivals, visitor participation, the participation of our own locals at those major events. It is our responsibility to make it safe, and not just the responsibility of law enforcement to police and ensure that these activities remain safe. So we continue to appeal to Grenada. Let us ensure that Spicemas 2026 goes down in the record books. And we are certain about this. I am confident about this. I have all the assurance, support, and the capacity within the RGPF to make this happen. But I believe the collective support of all other stakeholders is equally important, and we look forward to this. To our visitors, Grenada again is one of the safest destinations. We are not immune from any incident, activity, or crime. But in comparison to our colleagues across the region, and might I add the world, the data doesn't lie. And we depend on the data, we are guided by the data, and our decisions are influenced by the data and by the intelligence provided, not just by our local intelligence officers, but those from our regional and international partners. And we have a very good relationship with them. Crime is our major concern. And like crime, we know we'll have to deal with issues of traffic management over the season. We appeal to you to yield to the advice given by Inspector Ryan Smith as we move forward into the carnival season. And not just the carnival season, because there is a steady uptake in the importation of vehicles across the island, and the infrastructure and parking facilities has not grown to accommodate the influx of vehicles. So we ask for your patience. We do not want another fatal accident. I think we have how many, Mr. Smith? 4 for the year?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
4 fatal accidents for the year. And I think we could level off of that. So we ask for greater responsibility in your actions as motorists and pedestrians. You're also asked to be cautious when using the public roadway. We thank you for your cooperation, your support, and we look forward to another successful season. Carnival 2026 is the responsibility of each and every one of us, and we do appeal to you to continue to give us your support as we seek to make and continue to make Grenada the safest destination ever. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner, and thank you to Superintendent Frank Foray, Inspector Ryan Smith, the supporting officers, the Superintendent Brian Hall, and ACP Vanny Cowing. And we do hope that members of the media and the the viewing audience are no more aware and in a better position in terms of the state of our security, and importantly so, the investigation that is now ongoing with the missing tours. I am Sherry Ann Noel. Thank you very much for joining us.